What's good, Shellitronnn here. You can call me Shells, and I'm back again with a brand new video, and I'm gonna keep it a Bowberry biscuit. Sometimes the news you don't hear about is just as important as the news you do. So when I tell you that there's no official word just yet from the Carolina Panthers, and there really shouldn't be since the draft is coming up very, very soon, that our man Jeremy Chinn will be playing free safety this upcoming year, please believe me when I say it is the most obvious and makes the most sense for that to be the case based off of one very important player who was a real sleeper before last season started and who far exceeded expectations for us this past season. I'm talking about Juston Burris. He is the most important player when it comes to trying to determine how the Panthers are going to be using Jeremy Chinn this upcoming season, which is kind of surprising because when this offseason first started and we saw KK getting cut, we saw my man Stephen Weatherly, Natrell Jameson, and even the punter Mike Pilardi. We saw all these dudes getting cut to make room in the cap to pick up other players. And we picked up a lot of very good players, both on offense and defense. No, Dan Arnold, we got David Moore, we got guys like Denzel Perryman and Hassan Reddick and AJ Bouye. We made a lot of very good moves, a lot of very efficient moves as far as contracts go. So we understand that a lot of cuts were made to make room for the cap to bring in some very high impact players. And I was saying from the very jump, from the very start of the offseason, that there was no doubt in my mind that even though Juston Burris played extremely well at the strong safety spot, the fact that we were probably going to be looking at getting players for our linebacking core and maybe some corners, even though Jeremy Chinn played very well at safety, at linebacker, playing the slot, playing boundary. The thing was, as we saw more and more players get signed, his options were getting more and more squeezed because you weren't going to have Jeremy Chinn play outside linebacker with Hassan Reddick there, with YGM and Brian Burns. I mean, those guys playing defensive end. Are you going to have your second round pick on the bench not playing because Hassan Reddick's here? He's probably going to be standing up playing outside linebacker for us, more than likely. You don't want to give up the development of a promising second-year, second-round player just because you have Hassan Reddick. He can have him standing up playing linebacker. But the point is that Juston Burris played extremely well at strong safety, right? But the game of NFL football is not just played on the field between the lines there. It is also played between the lines of a ledger, of a checkbook, within the confines of a salary cap. And it is a hard salary cap. Not like the NBA, not like the MLB. You have to fit all your players underneath the salary cap. And when it comes to Juston Burris, he was a good player, but he was due to make $4.8 million in this upcoming season with a $1 million cap hit. Now, what does that mean? That means that he could have been cut before or even after June 1st, and the team could have saved $3.8 million. And that's why I was saying all this whole time that there was no doubt in my mind that Juston Burris was going to be the odd man out. He's going to be a cap casualty because although he proved he could be a starting strong safety, I'm not saying he's like one of the guys who could be like 31 other teams would love to have Juston Burris in the squad. There's a lot of other strong safeties in the league who are better than him. But 20-ish, 18-ish other teams would love to have Juston Burris on their squad. And with the $3.8 million hanging over his head for the Panthers, it felt like his time here was probably coming to a close, especially when you take into account this tweet right here from Phil Yates. He talks about the largest workout bonuses in the NFL this offseason. Now, this tweet came out several days ago, maybe like a week ago, honestly, but I was sitting on to wait and make sure that he actually was still on the team before the 19th, because the 19th was the first official start of optional workouts for NFL teams. If you don't know what that is, it's when just guys are allowed to come in and work out with the team at the facilities. They're not doing any like game planning. They're not really doing any hitting, obviously, but they're just working out together, and guys get bonuses in their contracts to actually show up. Now, when I say it's optional, it's not really optional. About 5-6 players on every team it's actually optional for. Just about everyone else needs to be there, especially if you're not one of these guys who are franchise players, guys who could easily be cut, but players still do negotiate to have bonuses to incentivize them even further to come to these optional workouts. And it turns out that Juston Burris has the third highest workout bonus in the entire NFL this offseason. $600,000 to show up to an optional workout. Now, put that in perspective. The guys above him are Jimmy G, Kenny Clark, David Bakhtiari, and Zadarius Smith. All guys who are borderline, I don't call them household names, but names you hear a whole lot more often in telecasts than you're probably going to hear Justin Burris's. But the point is that Justin Burris has a very, very, one, good agent, but two, a very chunky workout bonus. And like I said, the workout started on the 19th, and I thought the team was going to cut Justin Burris before the 19th so that, one, they wouldn't be on the hook for $600,000 for him to be at a workout, and two, they could go ahead and save that $3.8 million, to have more room on the salary cap to make more moves if they so decided. And this tells you a couple different things. One, the team wants Justin Burris to stay on the squad. You don't pay a guy $600,000 as what, a consultant fee to show up to workouts? It would make no sense to keep him on the squad past the 19th, pay him that $600,000 and then cut him later, and you're out $600K because a guy worked out at your facilities. If he was going to be a cap casualty, you were going to make sure that you got all the money you could have out of that deal. He's a good player, but I don't know if he's good enough to be worth $600,000 of presence at the facilities while guys are working out. That's number one. Number two is, this is why I believe the team is going to have to put our man Jeremy Chinn at free safety this year. Think about it. Free safety is the only spot on the defense that's open right now. Our DEs are going to be Brian and YGM. We have Hassan Reddick, we have Perriman, and we have Shaq Thompson playing outside linebackers, or the whole linebacker core. We have other edge rusher kind of guys who can play that edge rusher, outside linebacker, defensive end kind of role as well. Really, there's no room for Jeremy Chinn to be at the linebacker spot, right? What are we going to do? Sit down Hassan Reddick so that Jeremy Chinn can play outside linebacker? Are we going to sit down this man Shaq Thompson making $13.5 million a year so that Jeremy Chinn can play outside linebacker? Probably not, right? You probably can't get rid of either one of those guys. With Denzel Perriman, you can't sit him. You just sign him. You just pay the man. You can't sit him. Strong safety. We have the position that Jeremy Chinn played in college, was very comfortable with. And strong safety and outside linebacker are very, very, let's call them very similar, where safeties are more fast, they have better hands, and they can cover better. But free safety is the biggest spot for Jeremy Chinn. I think we're going to be addressing the corner spot in the draft. We have AJ Bouye, who's number one. We have Dante Jackson, who's number two. Yeah, you could put Jeremy Chinn in the slot, but are you going to be running nickel all game? Look, we did run a lot of nickel several years ago. It was basically our base. Our base was nickel. 2 to 4 or 5 years ago, we were running a lot of nickel. But you're going to want Jeremy Chinn on the field as much as possible. I'm 100% convinced the team is saying, Justin Burris, you're making your money this season. We can still get rid of you if we really wanted to, but with you here, that's one less problem to worry about in the draft for this season. We don't have to find a starter level strong safety. And because Trebo was cut, because we did get rid of Trey Boston, who was a decent enough free safety. I mean, he wasn't a guy who was going to lose you games. Was he the greatest of all time? No. Was he the most aware of all time? Of course not. But he wasn't a guy who was going to straight up lose you games back to back to back. I thought that he played well enough. There were some games he played poorly, but he always gave them back to you. He always made up for it. He was going to be like an up and down kind of guy who wasn't like a 1 in one game and a 10 in another. He swing between like a 4 and a 7.5 between games, and that's cool. Maybe like a 5 and a 7.5, honestly. But the point is that with no real free safety on the roster, it only makes sense that Jeremy Chinn is put there. Where else can he play? Where else can Jeremy Chinn realistically play on this team? If you're telling me that Hassan Reddick is going to play defensive end, and we just have YGM not really playing at all, and then we put Jeremy Chinn back at outside linebacker, that's cool. If that's what you believe, that's cool with me. I don't think it's the case, though. It makes no sense when you can have Hassan Reddick play as an outside linebacker, and you have YGM starting and having a strong role on the team. I believe YGM can be an impact player on the team this year. So it makes no sense to sit him down and have him as a rotational piece when you spent a second round pick on him last year and you saw he has potential, right? The only real place for Jeremy Chinn to play, now that we see that Juston Burris has stayed on the roster past his bonus date, which has been paid out. According to Over the Cap, the $600K has been paid out. Jeremy Chinn has no other place to play but free safety. And with that being our move, we have so much more freedom in the draft. We don't have to depend on a rookie free safety or go for free safety so early in the draft this year. We can focus on the trenches and make a move like that. And if we're able to focus our attention there in the trenches and then looking at a cornerback, then we have a much stronger chance to actually go on a decent run this year. This could be a winning record team this year. I said that our real playoff timeline wasn't this year, but next year. But if we do have Juston Burris playing strong safety and Jeremy Chinn playing free safety, and the only spots we have to really work on the defense right now outside of depth is corner, and really just one spot, right? We really just need to find a guy who can play that slot position, and that's the position you can go in the third round. Maybe if you trade down later in the second, but you could definitely find a guy to play in the slot for you. And that's why having players who are so versatile is so important. Now, do I think that Jeremy Chinn's going to end up being a career free safety? Honestly, I don't know. I've seen the man perform everywhere he goes. I've seen the man look good every position he goes to. I can't tell you if he's going to play outside linebacker, strong safety, free safety. I don't know what Jeremy Chinn is going to do for his whole career, but I 100% believe, and please quote me on this, that Jeremy Chinn will be playing free safety for the Panthers in 2021. That's how I see it though, man. Am I wrong? Am I reading too much into the Juston Burris, not news, but the lack of news of us not cutting him and him getting that $600K to show up for workouts? Do you think the team will still cut him? And to make what kind of move? What do you believe is the real game plan here for positions on defense? Do you think that Hassan Reddick will play defensive end and we're going to be sitting down YGM, make him a sub, and then Jeremy Chinn plays outside linebacker? What are all your thoughts? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And you already know what to do with that like button.
Cheers to you, appreciate the chance. Being told y'all I been the man. Being told y'all I had the gift. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Real ones gonna recommend. Count this as another win.